How long should you prep for? How long do you think some SHTF event is going to last? Welcome back to the Top Preparedness channel. A couple of weeks ago, I put out a video on the top 2 things that I was currently preparing for. These are 2 events that I think are going to happen sooner than later. Now, a couple weeks ago, I watched a video that asked the question, how long do I think an SHTF event will last? And in that video, the individual said probably no more than a year, right? No event has lasted longer than a year. And it got me thinking. It got me thinking about the things that I'm prepping for, the things that you guys have answered that y'all were prepping for. And is he correct? Are we over prepping? Are we over prepared for these events? And at 1 year, should we stop prepping? Should we stop prepping when we have 1 year of supplies? Or should we continue to better ourselves? Should we continue to grow to get a year and a half, to get 2 years? So for today's video, I want to kind of discuss some SHTF scenarios and how long I think they would last and how long I think you should be prepared for them, or at least I'm preparing for them. So I believe there's 3 questions that you should be asking yourself when talking about some sort of event happening. What is the event that you're preparing for? Number 2, what is the average duration that this event affects people for? And number 3, are there any side effects that could further delay the event from ending? So for those of y'all that have been watching my channel this last winter, I put out multiple videos on a snowstorm that was happening in my area. The event was snow, sleet, ice, slush, could be some power outages. So number 1, a snowstorm. How long does this event normally last in my area? Well, that depends on where you live. Most people have snow on the ground for about 2 days. Where my mom lives, about 15-20 miles away up the mountain, that snow could last anywhere from 5 to 10 days. Then there's power outages that go along with the snowy, slushy ice. And those power outages could be none, or it could be 10 days of the event. And number 3, are there any factors that could further delay that snowstorm, that could make it from a 3-day event to a 13-day event? Or in my mom's case, she lives up in the mountains. A few years back, they had a pretty massive snowstorm. The snow was gone in 2-3 days. But where it hit, it took out all of the trees on this one road that leads up the mountain. So yes, the snow was gone, but she couldn't leave her house for 15 days. What about hurricanes? Hurricanes hit my state all the time. So what comes with a hurricane? You got rain, you got flooding, you got heavy and high winds, you got destruction caused by tornadoes or floodwaters, and you have looting in some situations. What is the average duration for a hurricane? The hurricane itself is a couple hours long. If it hits your house and quickly moves by, yeah, you're only getting destroyed for like 2-3 hours. Cool. North Carolina, a couple years ago, Hurricane Michael, the hurricane set in one spot and did not move for almost 12 hours. Now that is the event itself. What about the aftermath of the event? Right, moving on to question 3. Is there anything that could delay reconstruction? Yes. Like I said, that hurricane set in one spot for 12 hours. The Cape Fear River, if I remember correctly, flooded. So now it wasn't just the people that were affected, it was these people that weren't necessarily hit with the hurricane. They were hit with the bands. Those houses got flooded. So you went, oh well, the hurricane didn't even hit. We're good, we're safe. The next day, you're packing up your crap and you're leaving because your house is underwater. The water rose and stayed at a high level for almost 3 weeks. It had nowhere to go. Then you look at a place like Puerto Rico, where you had Hurricane Maria come through a few years back. The hurricane itself only lasted for a few hours. The flooding only lasted for a day or 2. It was the destruction and the fact that they were not connected to the continental U.S. that caused the damage. You see, reconstruction took over a year. It was a year without power. So you say that, oh, I'm prepping for a hurricane. Are you talking about a 3-day event? A 3-week event like in North Carolina? Or almost a year event like in Puerto Rico? The average of 3 days, 3 weeks, and a year is somewhere around 6 months. Now, Are you in a situation where if you get hit with a hurricane, you're going to be out for 6 months? Probably not. But then you look at Hurricane Katrina, and you could say, yeah, probably so. Hurricane Katrina affected so many people and so many lives for a short event that it was supposed to be. Those people left for 3 to 4 days thinking, yeah, it's just another hurricane, no big deal. We'll come back, we might have a little bit of flooding, no big deal. Their houses are underwater and have been underwater for 13 plus years. So yes, I can give you a worst case scenario for every situation you bring up. So let's change directions, let's change gears and talk about financial preparedness. A recession, a depression, a hyperinflation scenario. So what am I prepping for? Some sort of financial event. So the average duration of a recession, let's say 2 years. Number 3, is there anything that could affect that recession and make it last longer? Yeah, of course. We see it every few years when we go into a recession. Now, they've not been as big as 2008, but in 2012, 4 years in, we hit another recession. So now people are finally working, people are finally getting their jobs back, people are finally catching up, and boom, another recession. Again, mini recession, only lasted for 6 months to a year, but you went from doing really well, catching up, to boop, back, broke, bankrupt, poor again. Yeah, it happens. We're talking about another big recession lasting 18 months. We just got out of COVID. Some people haven't had jobs in 2 years. So yes, we could have many things affecting the time that it takes to come out of a recession. So let's take the recession talk one step further and talk about depression / a hyperinflation event. What is the average duration of a depression / hyperinflation event? Somewhere close to 10 years. America has only had one Great Depression. That lasted for over 10 years. Germany, hyperinflation, lasted for over 4 years. Venezuela, hyperinflation, lasted for what? We're going on 13, 14 years now? So the average between these three is roughly 9 to 10 years. And you would be correct in saying, yes, throughout this 10-year event, people change, things change, people get smarter, different economical systems come in, such as barter and trade, such as the black market. It still takes 10 years to get back to where you once were. A 10-year event is a long time. So now the question becomes, how long should you prepare for? Are you one of these people that says, one person for 1 year, that's it, I'm good, I'm done, I've got a year's worth of canned food or rice and beans, I'm good? Are you one of these people that says, yeah, I've got food stocked up for a year. Past that, I've got solutions. I've got a sustainability plan in place that will take me further than that 1 year. Well, that obviously depends on what you're prepping for, how long's the average duration, and if there's any factors that could push that out. You might be one of these people out here that says, listen, I don't have the space, the time, the energy, or the effort to prep for a year. I live in Florida, I live on the coast, I'm prepping for hurricanes, the average hurricane is a couple of days long, then we're good to go. And if that's all you want to prep for, hey, I don't care, as long as you prep, right? But learn from your mistakes. If your last hurricane that you went through was a 3-week ordeal, and you're still only prepping for 3 days, learn from that. Say, listen, ooh, wait a minute, that last one lasted almost a month. This 3 days is not enough to get us by. Use history, use your personal history and anything from around you to learn from. That is the biggest thing with prepping. So in the video I watched, the guy mentioned that most events do not last longer than a year, so why prep long term? Why have long-term solutions in mind? Because long-term events happen. Let's say you're the guy that says 1 year for one person, that's it. I'm good, I'm done. So you have 1 year of Spam sitting on the shelf, and you say, yep, that's it, I'm good. And your girlfriend shows up. You gonna kick her away? I mean, how many other apocalypse beauties are you gonna be able to find? So you bring her in. That 1 year's worth of food is now 6 months. Now she brings her 2 little crotch goblins with her. So now your 1 year's worth of food just got cut down to 3. 3 months worth of food. You didn't want to prep long term. You didn't want to have that solution based in mind. You didn't want to have that sustainability in mind. Because you said no event has lasted longer than a year. It's a Great Depression, 10 years. It's a hyperinflation scenario, 13 years. Good luck. Should you prep for longer than a year? Yeah, in my opinion, absolutely. Because worst case scenario, you're over prepped. Worst case scenario, you have extra food on the table. Worst case scenario, your children are not starving. I'd rather be over prepared than under prepared. Should you prep for over a year? Yes. Anything over that year, you should really be focusing on solution based, on sustainability, on those long-term prepping goals. Again, my opinion, disagree, agree, let me know down in the comments. So, for these questions, how long do you prep for? Is it a 3-day event, so you're only prepping for 3 days? Or are you prepping for the long-term goal? Let me know down in the comments section. That's all I got for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all stay safe out there. T2 out.